Welcome back to the channel. This is Dominique with Feminine Health and Wellness. I am back at you with some more wellness tip of the day. And so I'm going to kind of do a little housekeeping. I do have some herbal teas that are on sale. I have the women wound care tea as well as the men stimulator tea. They are on sale now. Just click the link in my bio and you're going to go right into my link tree and you will see the products that are on sale. So if you are new to my channel, I am Dominique, and here on this channel, we talk about health and wellness. We talk about feminine energy, and we talk about living a healthier lifestyle. So welcome back to the channel, Wellness Warriors. All right, let's get into it. So our discussion for today is the art of saying no, setting boundaries for your well-being. So you got to ask your question to yourself. Do you ever feel overwhelmed, overworked, or utterly exhausted simply because you cannot bring yourself to saying no? In order for you to protect, ladies, gentlemen, your feminine energy, you have to learn to say no. That is a part of self-care, protecting your feminine energy and your well-being. I know that you're not alone. I'm not alone. We have all been there stretching ourselves thin to please other people. Prioritizing your own well-being is not being selfish. It is taking care of you. So if you ask yourself, how do I perform self-care for me and my well-being? And that is one of the things that you can do to keep from others. It could be friends, family members, children, from draining your energy and putting you in an overwhelming state and an overworked state. Saying no is how you show self-love. Okay? So we're going to get more deep into it. It's how do you know? How do you know when to say no, when not to, when you're overwhelmed, when you don't feel like it? Sometimes as women, we say yes to everything when we know in our heart we're not, we don't want to do it, you know. And so when you're why are you drained? You have to ask yourself that question to yourself. Why are you drained? Because it is a hidden cost to saying yes. When you're saying yes all the time, it is some consequences to saying yes, especially when it is overwhelming and you feel overworked and you are utterly exhausted. It is a cost of saying no. No. Constant agreement chips away of your energy and leaving you depleted and resentful. So when you are resentful and you're feeling depleted, you cannot be in your feminine energy. You cannot be, peaceful, at peace and loving and kind because you're tired, you're exhausted, you are in your feminine energy. You can't be in your feminine energy. I'm sorry. Family is calling. So, give me one. All right. So, let's see. All right. So, like I was saying, if you're feeling exhausted and depleted and overwhelmed, it's probably because you're not saying no when you know in your heart that these are things that you don't want to do. So the cost of saying yes, like I said before, constantly agreeing always chips away your energy and leaving you depleted and resentful. Okay? It's going to leave you resentful. You're gonna feel depleted. So understanding your yes traps. Don't get yourself trapped into saying yes. This is how you not get yourself trapped into saying yes all the time. We as women sometimes we always say yes to everything when we really don't mean to. We really don't have time sometimes, and sometimes we'll just ultimately exhausted, and we can't. But we always say yes. So the reason why we get trapped into saying yes is because the fear of missing out. FOMO, the fear of missing out or disappointing others often drive an automatic yes. So if we feel like we're going to disappoint someone, we automatically say yes. Okay. So being a people pleaser isn't kindness, ladies. It's not. It's not kindness. That's not how you show your kindness. Being a people pleaser isn't kindness. I'm going to say that again. Um, when you are a people pleaser, it's a sacrifice of your own well being for basically perceived societal approval. When you look strong, this narrative about I'm a strong woman and I'm a strong person and different things like that is the perception of the societal approval. That's not, loving yourself and putting your boundaries in place, to protect your well being. You're focusing on, you know, what society might think of me, what other people may think of me if I say no. And so that's what we have to get away from. So start recognizing the guilt trips in others and the subtle manipulation that makes no feel impossible. So you know how some people come to you and they want you to do something and you're feeling like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like it. I'm a little overwhelmed. It's a little too much. But they always try to put a guilt trip on you to make you feel like no, it's impossible. And sometimes they'll even offer you things to make you say yes. And so we have to recognize that. We have to recognize the guilt trip, subtle manipulations of people. So let's find out, what is the art of the gracious no? What is the art of saying no? You know, in order for you to stay in your feminine energy, um, no doesn't have to be rude. It doesn't have to be disrespectful. You can speak kindly, master the polite yet firm phrase, respect, for the respect of you and the other person. So you don't have to be, mean or disrespectful. You can say no. You can say, hey, I'm not able to do that today. If you're not comfortable with saying no, you just say, no, I'm busy. I'm busy today. No, I'm unable to do that today. Um, um, just no, just straight out no. Sometimes you just have to say straight out no. So the fear of missing out, you're not going to miss out on anything. But that is that guilt that you may feel if you saying no. So that is just something that, you're going to have to learn how to protect your feminine energy, how to protect your energy as well as your well-being. Okay? Because you don't want to get in a resentful state or a resentful situation, where you're feeling um resentful because you said yes, or you're angry because you said yes to something that you truly did not really want to do. Okay. So you're going to offer alternatives when appropriate. But remember, your primary goal is to protect your boundaries. not to solve their problems. Or if somebody come to you and say, hey, I need you to do this, or I need you to work, or I need you to go to the store, you can offer alternatives, but it's not your job to solve the problem. That is coming out of your feminine energy when you're trying to solve problems and different things like that. You're going to stay into your feminine energy. You're going to stay with self-love within yourself. Okay, so you're going to practice making saying small no's, until you can build up your confidence to say bigger no's. Like, no, I can't go to the store, I'm tired. You're going to practice that. You're going to practice those perfect, small no's. Perfect small no's, build your confidence all the way up to the big no's. That's what we're trying to build, especially if you have had a problem with saying no to people. You're going to build that, you're going to practice, and you're going to build that confident level up to saying no. And I am guilty of, in the past, not saying no, feeling guilty for saying no, feeling that somebody's going to be disappointed in me, or they're going to have low expectations of me just because I choose to say no. But I have gotten away from that, and I am always learning how to build boundaries. So when you build your boundaries, this is what I call them: build your boundaries blueprint. It's a blueprint to your boundaries. Everybody have different boundaries. You're going to identify your non-negotiables, what truly drains you, what is your absolute time and energy limits. This is the things that you're going to ask yourself. You're going to you're going to build your boundary blueprint. And that is personal. That is everybody's individual blueprint to boundaries. Communicate communicate clearly and proactively set expectations. Okay. Before situation arrives, you know, not in the heat of the moment. Sometimes we try to set expectations in the heat of the moment, and it never pans out the way that we think that the situation is going to unfold. So you have to already preset boundaries for people, because family members, friends, loved ones, co-workers, associates, some people just like to test, to see how far that they can extend your boundaries. And you don't want to, get in a situation where you have to set boundaries in the heat of the moment. You want to already set those boundaries beforehand, so people already know the expectations of you. Reinforce your boundaries consistently. A no today should not become a yes tomorrow. So if you're going to work and they say, hey, um, Dominique, can you do this? Yesterday you said no, but they're asking you the same question. And sometimes people will do that. They'll ask you the same question that you said no to the day before. So your no's for today should be always no for tomorrow, especially if it's the same question. And people will try to make you feel guilty and different things like that. Oh, well, yesterday that you didn't do it, or yesterday you couldn't do it. Can you do it today? And then you're gonna politely say no. No, I'm unavailable. I am unavailable. And you're gonna let them know at that present time. So how do you reclaim your time and reclaim your life back? How do you reclaim? Okay. So, witnessing the transformation power of saying no. Once you witness that, the power of saying no, the power of the self-care and the self-love, that and the reassurance that you feel when you're able to be comfortable and confident in saying no, it's going to bring on opportunities. It's going to bring on peace in your life. Your energy is going to bring more energy. and it's going to, you know, protect your personal space. You're going to feel protected. You're going to feel that your personal space is protected. So you're not going to feel guilty. And it's just an art of saying no. The more that you say no, the more that you set your boundaries, the less guilty that you feel for setting those boundaries. But guilt comes from other things. We're not going to get into that today. But however, sometimes as women, we feel like that we have to do everything even though we're not capable of doing everything sometime, and we feel guilty if we can't do something for our kids and if we can't do something for our loved ones. But we have to get away from that and think of ourselves and think that, and focus on self-love and well-being for ourselves, setting those boundaries. Okay. It isn't selfish. It is self-care. Setting those boundaries and saying no isn't selfishness, it is self care. Your well being is the foundation of, or a foundation for fulfilling a fulfilling life. Okay? Let me say it again. It is not selfish, it is self care. Your well being is the foundation for a fulfilling life. So just keep that in mind when you are setting your boundaries, when you are learning the art of saying no, and when your peace and your energy and when you're overwhelmed, just think about how to reclaim your time and your life. Okay. I'm not going to hold you guys for long. I just wanted to kind of share that with you because on this journey that we're all going on, we're learning how to set our boundaries. We're learning how to self love, and we're learning how to um, have that continue to have that well being, health wise for ourselves and reclaiming our mental health. So on this channel, like I said before, we talk about health and wellness, and saying no is going to protect our energy and our health and our well-being. So I want to say, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more health and wellness and feminine energy tips. Like and subscribe to the channel. Bye for now.